start by saying that I'm personally not a big fan of Animal Crossing, but put down in the chat if you are. Put a 1 in the chat if you're a fan of Animal Crossing. And I bet that there's a lot of people out there that are a big fan of it. And I have a Nintendo Switch, and I'm okay with it being on there. You know, my wife and kids, they play it like crazy. So that's kind of like my first thing on it. And then my second thing is that when it comes to games that maybe weren't from your time, your particular time, that, you know, they still deserve a certain amount of respect. And I mean, take for example, I know everybody loves Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You know, a lot of people say it's the greatest fighting game of all time and whatnot. Now, a kid that's in high school or something right now, if they grew up on Minecraft, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, you know, games of that caliber. And so when they go back and look at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, as much as us all old fogies love that game, to them, it's like us going back and looking at Pong. You know, it's not really impressive if we're really honest about it. But it's impressive to the generation that it came up in. And that's, I think, important to realize when you're talking about a game like Montezuma's Revenge. And to help illustrate that, I've made a little video. So let's go ahead and play that now.
When the Montezuma's Revenge arrived on the Atari 2600, it was a breath of fresh air for that system at the time. It was a far more advanced platformer than just about anything that had been released on the system up until that time. I actually stumbled across this game through the emulation scene when I was getting games for my 2600 emulators, and I was shocked at how complex and advanced this game was for an Atari 2600 game. So much so that it actually received an update for the Sega Master System a few years later with updated graphics, as you can see here. So when I saw that it was actually coming to the iiRcade, like, I was super excited. But so much so that when I first became interested in the iiRcade and I was researching things and I saw the Sydney Hunter cabinet, I always thought to myself, I wonder if Jong knows about Montezuma's Revenge, because this would be a great game to be on the iiRcade platform, because it is a historically significant game. This game predates Super Mario Brothers, and you can see a lot of the elements in it that we later see in later platformers, especially Super Mario Brothers. And because of that historical significance, I think the game deserves respect. It is up there with Dragon's Lair and Double Dragon as an historically significant game. And you can see the footage here. They've updated and made the classic retro stuff looks nothing like the Atari 2600 footage I showed you earlier. It's been completely revamped, and then they got the modern updates as well. So it's basically like two brand new games over the original versions. And so that's why I am super excited that it is becoming here on the iiRcade platform. And I think that as a community we need to embrace it, and it would be great if we saw more modern updates like this. So I can't wait to play Montezuma's Revenge here on the iiRcade, coming soon. I'm excited, and you guys should be as well.
And one final thing before I pass the baton to the rest of you guys. I just want to say, Robert Yeager, I believe that's how you pronounce your name. You are more than welcome to come on our program at any time to talk about Montezuma's Revenge. We would love to have you on, and it's an open invite, my friend.
Oh yeah, Montezuma's Revenge, man. It's got rolling skulls. How cool is that?
Yeah,
they got
cool
some respect on it.
Yeah, I know. I saw your respect on it in your comments there, CTJs. That showed up in the video too.
Yeah, I'm just calling it how I see it. That's what it looked like. I've never seen the game before in my life.
I don't think I played this when I was a kid, but this looks really cool. And somebody pointed out, I think it looks like Sydney Hunter, and I agree. It does look a lot like Sydney Hunter, and the music is awesome on this. What do you think about this, Brad? What do you think?
Oh, I think it's great, man. I'm stoked for it. I mean, I played it on the Atari computers, and I loved it. I mean, it was a great game, and for its time, it was incredible. So to see it re-released in a much sharper, cooler version, I'm 100% down for it. I'm a huge fan of Atari, so like for me, this is like retro nostalgia for me, and I'm excited about it. I remember the game when it originally came out from Parker Brothers, and they advertised the game always in the back of Marvel comic books. It was always on the back page on Marvel comic books, and so it's kind of cool.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm not gonna blow smoke up, anyone's behind here and say that it's better than Super Mario Brothers. I mean, it's not. I mean, I haven't played the new version, but I mean, I'm talking about the old versions that I showed in the video. But it was definitely when they write the history books of video games and they go to the section on platforming video games, like the influence that game had on Super Mario Brothers is undeniable. And so that's why it is a big game in historic significance.
Hey, real quick about that Montezuma's Revenge. Yesterday, I told you earlier, I've never seen that game before in my life. And I learned a lot yesterday. He told me everything, the history about the game. He showed me both releases coming out to the iiRcade. I think I'm going to check it out. If it's the right price, I'll buy it.
Well, there you have it from the man himself.
That's how I feel about it.
So CT Jason's hilarious, you guys. When we started talking about right after this game got announced, I'd say for the most part, most people were pretty excited about it. Most people thought this was going to be a good thing. It was a pretty positive response. There were a few people out there in the community that kind of had a little bit sour about it for whatever reason. And let's just say I was like was I in a mood or something? But I kind of got on my soapbox a little bit, and CT Jason stepped up and decided he wanted to clip my audio. And well,
the man was preaching. I had to show what I see in my head on screen. You need to play.
Well, here's my thought. This is a game that you're not going to see on Arcade 1-Up. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't the kind of stuff that they go after. So if you're looking for the types of titles that Arcade 1-Up is going to get, if you're looking for Killer Instinct, if you're looking for Time Crisis, if you're looking for Daytona USA, these are probably going to be things you're going to see on Arcade 1-Up. You know what I mean? Arcade 1-Up isn't going to get Montezuma's Revenge. Like, they wouldn't. Because they couldn't. They're not going to make a Montezuma's Revenge cabinet. Are you kidding me? The retailers wouldn't have that. The retailers are going to be like, really? No. But this is the kind of stuff that iiRcade has the ability to do that nobody else does. Right? Even this kind of thing, they're not going to make this stuff and they're not going to reach out to @Games, say, hey, we've got this essentially an indie title remake kind of thing, right? They're not going to do that. Right? This is where iiRcade shines. And I think at this point in the game, people have to realize that. Like, if you are buying arcades because you want to play Pac-Man and Street Fighter, you're not buying an iiRcade, right? The iiRcade is going to give you games like Sydney Hunter, right? It's going to give you games like Dead Cells. This is the type of stuff that you're not going to get in Arcade 1-Up form. So people need to realize that iiRcade is a great complement. If you're building out an arcade and you want a multicade that can do different things, that can play console games, that can play indie games, that can have stuff specially customized and optimized for an arcade experience that maybe didn't have an arcade experience before. That's what the iiRcade is good at. That this right here, you're taking an old classic retro game. You've got the modern spin on it. It's being optimized for iiRcade. You're never going to see this in Arcade 1-Up. This is unique. This is what makes the iiRcade interesting. And I think, like Brad had pointed out in the past, like, this show is our chance to clap back at these guys. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't understand what iiRcade is really trying to do. And this show gives us a chance to respond back to these types of hate, right? And the type of criticism and stuff. We can respond back and point these things out and point out why this is a great thing and what an awesome path that iiRcade is paving. I'm glad Mike Hawk Hurts agrees with me there. That's all I have to say about it, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, this is that was completely CT's segment, by the way, everyone. I know you heard Jeff go on and on for all those minutes, but that was CT's segment. And to be honest with you guys, there was like 6 minutes more on that CT cut out.
Yeah, that was the edit.
We had to cut a lot of
That was the Jeff edit.
I went off on a. I can do that from time to time. So thank you for clipping that info out there. And we did miss the eagle. We should have put an eagle in there. but that pretty much sums up my thoughts on it. Or whatever. But here's the thing. Like this was Jong's show, right? So he goes on for an hour about it, right? But other shows go out there. Like one guy made 7 videos about Killer Instinct Cabinet. Other people are making tons of videos about just a part of a game, like a feature of a game. It's like, so why can't Jong have an hour about one game that he's releasing? You know what I mean? And he interviewed the developer, and I thought that was a great interview.
Yeah. I mean, you can talk about going to the source. That's the person that created the game.
Right. It was a very interesting interview.
And he's one of us, I mean, he didn't just talk the talk. He actually walked the walk. I mean, he made that game.
When he was 17 years old, he made in assembly language, mind you. That's pretty impressive. Did you guys hear the part where he was talking about how in order to fit it into the however many kilobytes he needed it to be, he had to change all the variable names in the code from like descriptive words down to just one letter. Like, so the variables were like K, Q, R, like, can you imagine how impossible it would be to read his code?
All right.
A lot of work put into that.
Absolutely.